Hello. Today, let's talk about a concept I call product cycles. Product cycles are the pump or pumps that fill your product backlog pipeline. Let me describe how that works by first showing you a diagram from Jeff Patton. Jeff Patton provided this diagram maybe 10 years ago or more. And I think this is one of the better diagrams of what a product backlog looks like and how it feeds as a pipeline from ideas all the way to working software. It has at the beginning or entering the pipeline are large capabilities or features. These might be chunks of work that take many months to develop or value that we want to create. Maybe we don't even know what the features are. At this point, we would not even know the specific features, but we know a market opportunity or value we need to create or capability that our users are asking for. These things might be refined down into release size stories and then into smaller pieces so that they can get into an actual sprint cycle. So here are releases that bigger cycle of the bigger chunk of work, maybe release every quarter or something like that to ship to our customers. But in the sprint, in the smaller iteration cycle, we need small pieces and they get refined down into those smaller iteration size stories that come out as working tested software that can be combined together into a validated part of your product into a minimal releasable chunk of software. So this is the pipeline view. But some people, when they see this, they enjoy this picture, but they are learning or need to understand what is it that fills this pipeline? How do I create these things? What do I do? And so I created this diagram that I call the product cycles. The product cycles keeps that product backlog in the center. It's the focus. It's the central conversation piece of the work to be done and the state of the work as it is being done and whether or not it's done, what the done state is. This is all your product backlog. And it encompasses both the small pieces that get developed iteration by iteration or sprint by sprint, but it can be also the multi-team pieces and the bigger portfolio level pieces that are getting built. These are all part of the product backlog. The cycles, the main cycles that come out of this is the discovery cycle and the delivery cycle. These are running simultaneously all the time. We're discovering and we're delivering and we're discussing and delivering. In fact, they overlap a little bit, but it's useful to think about them as separate. So let's look at discovery for a minute. One of the main things of a discovery cycle that product people should be doing is learning from the users, learning from the customers, watching, seeing, asking how they will use things and what pain points do they have, what is missing, what can we provide to them that's of value. We learn from the users. There's lots of techniques for this, and this little box that says learn from users could be so much bigger if I were to include all the ways you can do it. Almost all the boxes on here will be like that, but this is the overview of these product cycles that are happening. And learning from the users is one that's often neglected and should not be. We also learn from the context. In other words, what is the environment in which our users are operating the software? What are the distractions there? What other systems does it have to interface with? What is the marketplace like? And if we introduce this major new feature or major new capabilities, how does that context change? And is that the change of that context? Is that what we want to create? So you have context and what the users are doing within that context. And you have to look at them both as a product person. These learnings that we're doing with users and context help us frame ideas, new ideas of what we should do with our product and where it should go. And we can frame those ideas as hypotheses. We hypothesize if we add this feature or this capability, this is the benefit to our users, or this is the benefit to our revenue, or whatever that benefit is, we might say. And we define those as hypotheses that can get fed into the product backlog. These big ideas of how do we prove this? So there's a smaller cycle that's happening all the time with all this learning and hypothesizing and everything. You have this refinement cycle happening. And its major purpose of the refinement cycle is prioritization. We need to be able to ask and answer the question of what is the most valuable thing to be working on now? Is it something we need to learn? Or is it something the users need? Or is it something our market is asking for? What is the most valuable thing? And let's make a prioritization, prioritize all these ideas that we have, and we're all constantly refining and learning that. And we want to define experiments. Even just saying our software needs to be able to do this sort of thing, when we say that, it's really an experiment. We're hypothesizing, and we say this, if we build this, we can prove or disprove that this is valuable or will work in a certain way or whatever it is we need to do. And these things are always feeding into the product backlog and always running and cycling. The refinement and the bigger learning and hypothesizing cycle of discovery is always happening and pumping ideas and data and decisions into the product backlog. So over to the delivery side, there is an inner circle here that I'm labeled as increment iterate. This is the place where we're actually building things. Now, from a portfolio view, this iterate increment cycle might be 6 months long, might be many months long from a portfolio level. But as you come down to program level and then down into actual sprint or iteration level, it becomes tighter and tighter. But each of those levels have their own increment iterate cycle going on as part of the delivery. And so we initiate that increment iterate cycle with an increment planning. That might be a quarterly planning event if we're looking at the program level, or it might be an annual programming event at a portfolio level. There's something that we say, we think we need to build these things. And it comes into that iterate increment cycle so we can learn while we're building. And we're going to learn as we're building. And that's going to give us different ideas of either some new ideas that are how the users can use this, but also ideas around technology. Is this the right platform, or can we use this technology, et cetera? We're learning by building. And so we generate some new ideas, and that might make us or trigger us to adapt the plan to these new ideas to begin to incorporate them. So we go through this cycle, however long that is, whatever that cycle is, we come out the other end and we need to take the time to review that increment. We decided to build something back in the planning. How does it look now that we've got it done? And the main people that we ask that question is our customers, our stakeholders. We need to incorporate their feedback, have them at the review, have them tell us what it looks like, where do they think it should go? And that helps us to assess new ideas, both from the user's perspective and from the perspective of the technology, that feed into the product backlog again. So these two main big cycles of discovery and delivery are feeding the product backlog to give us ideas and help us refine that pipeline and keep the pipeline full. So if we look at these side by side, we have the pipeline of large ideas or ideas coming in to be refined before they finally get built. And now we're in the delivery cycle. That delivery pump is going to help us get to final working software and keep that pipeline flowing. We're looking for flow of value and so on, that these pumps of the product cycles, delivery and discovery, discovery and delivery, keep that pipeline full. So as you're working both in delivery and discovery, product people and technology people working together in these cycles, that's how you're constantly keeping your pipeline going and delivering value to your users.